computerized. From the Magic City, the sun and fun capital of the world, Miami, Florida, through the incredible speed of the NCR 315 computer, Warner Productions proudly presents the all-time heavyweight championship tournament. Hi, everybody. This is Murray Warner at the Miami Convention Hall for the 9th fight of the all-time heavyweight tournament. Tonight, beginning the quarterfinal round, featuring the Manassas Mauler, Jack Dempsey, with the Boston strong boy, John L Sullivan. The all-time heavyweight tournament is made possible through the cooperation of the city of Miami, Mr. Nat Fleischer, publisher of Ring Magazine, Chris and Angelo Dundee, and Mr. Hank Kaplan, former president of the World Boxing Historians Association. We'll be back in a minute with Guy LeBeau and the details and some comments about tonight's fight. Back at ringside at Miami Convention Hall, and here's Guy LeBeau.
Thank you very much, Murray Warner. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Here we do go into our quarterfinal round. And if these fights are exciting and surprising as the first round, what a treat we've got in store these upcoming weeks.
These should be even better, Guy. After all, we're down to the best 8 fighters in heavyweight history.
Right, and what a match we've got coming up tonight to open our quarterfinal round, the legendary John L Sullivan against the fierce Manassas Mauler, Jack Dempsey.
In the first fight, fans, you'll remember that Dempsey won by a 7th-round knockout over gentleman Jim Corbett. And Dempsey won every round in that one. Sullivan won a close 15-round decision over Jimmy Braddock, taking 7 rounds to Braddock's 5 with 3 even.
A pair of great fights, of course, Murray, but neither one exactly a surprise, because Sullivan and Dempsey are both highly regarded fighters. The winner of tonight's match has every chance to win this tourney.
Well, this ought to be the original knockdown, drag-out fight. Dempsey bobbing, weaving, tearing in like an animal. Sullivan with magnificent endurance and stamina, easy to hit, but hard to knock down, and with a marvelous punch of his own. I'd say this fight could go any way. It could be a first-round knockout or another one of those 15-round maulings like we saw in the first round.
Okay, then, to take a quick look at Dempsey, he lost just 7 times in 81 fights, a terrific left-hand belter, especially with the left hook to the jaw. He held the title for 5 years after knocking Jess Willard down 7 times in the first round to win the crown from Big Jess 1919. That was Jack's 23rd straight KO.
Dempsey's a beautiful specimen of fighting tiger, Guy. 6'1", 195 pounds, 24 years old at the peak of his career. A man who'll knock you down, let you get up, then pounce on you again before you've had a chance to catch your breath. He also knocked Louis Firpo down 7 times, and after being knocked out of the ring himself. Like Sullivan, Dempsey didn't have too much defense, but he didn't need it, not the way he attacked. Won on knockouts 49 times in 81 fights. That's all the testimony anyone needs to Jack's punching power.
Sullivan was tough, too. The great John L. was the last of the bare-knuckle champions. And I guess his most famous contest was his 75-round KO over Kilrain. 75 rounds.
Yeah, he lost only once in 40 fights, and that time to gentleman Jim Corbett, the man Jack Dempsey beat in this tourney. Sullivan's just 5'10 and a half, but he weighs 200 pounds. And like Dempsey, he's 24 years old at the peak of his form. Only knocked down twice in his life, and he had his opponents down an amazing 149 times. Sullivan threw that old right hand to the head, to the body. He was a brawler all the way. Not much of a defensive fighter, and he didn't worry about counterpunches. Just swarmed all over you. Tried to drop you with that powerful right hand. The Boston strong boy was a great fighter.
So you know something, Maury? It's hard to find people in boxing today who can discuss the merits of a fighter of Sullivan's era. But we do have a man here tonight who has researched many of the old fights, Hank Kaplan. Hank is past president of the Boxing Historians Association.
All righty. Hank, what do you think John L. Sullivan's best assets were?
First of all, he had brute strength. He was a pretty good puncher with either hand, though not a very accurate puncher.
How about a fight between John L. Sullivan and Jack Dempsey?
Well, both of these men fit into the same slot as far as boxing style is concerned. I would think that Dempsey would overwhelm Sullivan because Dempsey arrived at an era when he could improve on the old Sullivan style. Dempsey could hook and knock you out with very, very short left hook. In fact, Dempsey made his left hook famous for its shortness.
So you think Dempsey would knock Sullivan?
I believe that Dempsey would have knocked Sullivan out.
You think it'd be a long fight?
I believe the fight would have gone about 7 or 8 rounds.
Well, also here with us at Miami Convention Hall tonight, we have Jack Kearns, whose father was Jack Dempsey's manager, Doc Kearns. Jack, just how good was Jack Dempsey?
He was a great fighter. There's no two ways about that. Jack was the type of fighter that I guess most every young kid would like to be if this was his career, boxing. Jack was a clean-cut fellow, well-conditioned, stayed in good shape, and he lived for fighting. He was pure animal in the ring, and a colorful fighter, the most colorful fighter we've probably ever had.
Well, how would you visualize a Jack Dempsey, John L Sullivan fight?
I don't think it would be any contest. I think Jack Dempsey would walk out, step up, and swarm all over him. John L Sullivan was a very, very slow man, as Corbett showed. Just moving out of his way, he couldn't touch him. And Jack Dempsey would walk up, walk inside, and destroy John L Sullivan. He'd hit him, he'd start punching, and wouldn't stop. Where Sullivan, this was not his way of fighting in those days. They would fight. Combinations were not even used. They would throw 1 or 2 punches, strike a pose, throw 1 or 2 punches, get set. Where Dempsey, he could hit you from one knee, he could hit you when he was falling, he could hit you from the floor, or he'd hit you when you're on the floor. It didn't make any difference. Well, I think Dempsey would beat him within 5 rounds. I don't believe that, as I said, they were used to head punishment. Jack Dempsey'd walk in and feint you, hook you to the head, turn around and step inside and punch to your body. And John L Sullivan wasn't a great conditioner. Even though he could last, and he did fight many, many long fights, never had to take punishment to the body or move around on his feet, where a Dempsey would walk into him and he'd push Sullivan back with continual punching, and Sullivan would run out of gas in no time.
We'll be back in 1 minute.
Now, Murray, just to remind the fans what a terrific puncher Jack Dempsey really was, let's let them hear a special piece of the 7th round of Jack's fight with Jim Corbett. That's the winning round in the first fight of our all-time heavyweight tournament.
Simmons, you remember, knocked Corbett out with a body attack, and Dempsey remembers that, I'm sure. But here he is, landing a murderous right to the face of Corbett. The great champion blinks. That hurt everybody in the place. Dempsey cautious for the moment, or maybe tired. Corbett ambles backward. Dempsey follows, and here is a right to the body. Oh, wicked shot by Dempsey. Another right to the body by Dempsey, and Corbett is down on his side. Let's pick up the count as Goldstein tolls. 3, 4, 5, 6. Corbett will make it. He's up on 1 foot, taking the mandatory count. Goldstein wipes off his gloves. It's the second time in this fight that Corbett has been down. Now back out in the center of the ring. Jack roars right back, coming back to the attack. Corbett still not out of the haze. Dempsey's on top of him. Corbett still blocks well at the body, but Jack's left is raining dynamite at Corbett's face and head. Here's a solid left hook to the head of Corbett. Dempsey in for the kill. Another left and right to the head of Corbett. Jim Bailey throws a left to the chin. Tries to hold Dempsey, but Dempsey rushes past the guards, which cannot contain him now. Here's another left and right to the head of Corbett, and once again Corbett down. Corbett down in a huddle right near this microphone, and it looks like it may be over. Let's pick up the count. 7, no response. 9, 10, that's it. Jack Dempsey draws first blood in the All-Star.
You know, Jimmy the Great Snyder makes Dempsey a 5-2 favorite tonight.
In just a minute, we'll be back with some more opinions on tonight's opponents. We're back at Miami Convention Hall, where Jack Dempsey, the mauler from Manassas, Colorado, meets John L Sullivan, the Boston Strong Boy, in the first quarterfinal fight in the all-time heavyweight tournament.
Big Jess Willard, who's another one of our championship fighters in this tournament, thought fighters of Sullivan's era might have been better. So we asked him about it.
It's a different business. Those old fighters that when they scuffled and tugged and pulled, and they didn't have no gloves on at all, you know. A lot of people think that the glove is a protection, a good thing to have on. A glove is not saving your rifle at all. They allow you to hit. Now, well, them days you couldn't hit. If you did, you'd break your hands.
Joe Louis was a man who was as dangerous in the 15th round as he was in the first. We asked him about Sullivan's tremendous endurance.
I imagine going in 75 rounds and just standing up there is enough punishment. Yeah. I don't think they could be hit that much. Could be hit that many times because so it had to be a lot of posing and a lot of walking around the ring. So I don't think that nobody can hit those for 75 rounds and still had a right marbles, yeah.
Joe, what about modern fighters' conditioning as opposed to the training methods in Sullivan's era?
Well, I think we'll have better condition fighters from Dempsey on. Even now, you could say from Jack Shockey on, from Tooney on. Because Tooney was a great athlete, good trainer, stayed in good condition. I think that Dempsey, although he stayed in great shape and everything, but Dempsey came up real hard way, though, see. His pass wasn't as nice as Tooney's was. And Tooney come along by the time that he had much fortune to have people who thought a lot of him to take good care of him. And since Tooney days, the rest of the athletes somewhat picked up from Tooney, so it lived a little better. And I think right on up to date, I was fighting out where you soon have fighting out trains in big hotels and you know, and everything, man, you know, so have a lot of help around them. While Tooney and when Dempsey and them were fighting, they didn't have nobody. They had to go to the gym themselves, rub themselves down, take showers, and take everything by themselves, you know.
Yeah.
But I think things are much better now.
You know, Murray, Miami Beach boxing promoter Chris Dundee is here tonight, and boy, would he love to be promoting this show.
Jack Dempsey was probably one of the greatest club fighters. By club fighters, I mean one of the greatest action and show fighters ever lived. I don't know of a better thrill provider than Jack Dempsey. He's the kind of a fighter that I, as a promoter, would like to be using on all my shows. Well, he pleased the public. I mean, he was known as a killer in boxing. That's what the people come. They come to see boxing. Very few come to see boxers, as we call boxers. They come to see these sluggers and knockout punchers.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in just a moment with some more expert opinion.
Nat Fleischer, publisher of the Ring Record book and one of the great living authorities on boxing, past or present, is one man who can give us a real evaluation on these fighters. We asked him about Jack Dempsey.
Jack Dempsey was not a clever fighter, but he certainly had a terrific wallop. He was a fighter, I should say, who would tear into an opponent from the start of the gong and never let up until he had his man out of gear. Invariably, his style was a rushing style in which he would toss punches from a low angle. He would stoop, get down in a low position, and try to get the chin of his opponent in a position where he could toss quickly an overhand blow or a side punch and catch him in the vital spot.
Was he a real hard hitter?
In my opinion, Jack Dempsey was one of the hardest hitters that we had in the last 50 years. In my estimate on the great fighters of the past, I have Jack Dempsey in fourth position, with men like Jack Johnson, Jim Jeffries, and Bob Fitzsimmons ahead of him. And the only reason I have them ahead is because they possessed ring cleverness, which Jack did not.
That makes it pretty clear, I think, that Nat Fleischer would go with Dempsey tonight. Before we ask him about John L Sullivan, we want to replay a round from the Boston Strong Boy's first tournament fight in which he defeated Jimmy Brown.
Right to the head. Every once in a while, Braddock becomes careless, and Sullivan rips the straight right to his target. Now Braddock brings in his own left to the nose, and right to the head once more. Braddock tears in with that combination again, but under the right cross, look at this. John L rips the hard, good right to the body with 30 seconds remaining, and Braddock is definitely slow. Braddock is not commanding the fight as the boxer he should. But on the other hand, Sullivan, sometimes landing solidly, has found Braddock has the big, solid body to pillow the pain. Braddock ties Sullivan to the ropes, virtually, as they wrestle from one side to the other, and Sullivan could definitely be including the neatest brawling in his battle plan. Buddy, the bully boy, knows his street fighting, no doubt about that. Seconds remaining, there's the bell.
We asked Nat Fleischer if he knew John L Sullivan.
I never saw John L Sullivan in ring action other than in his exhibitions in the theater. I traveled with John L on several occasions up to Hartford, where he had exhibition contests in conjunction with his shows. And in those, he definitely illustrated to the public tremendous hitting power. And that is all that he did possess, just hitting power.
Thank you very much, Nat Fleischer. And now I see Paul Berman, the ring announcer, coming to his microphone.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is our main event. First fight of the quarterfinal round of the all-time heavyweight boxing championship tournament. 15 rounds. Scoring is on 10-point plus system. And tonight's ring referee is Ruby Goldstein. In this corner, wearing white dress, from Plaza, Colorado, weighing 191 pounds, former heavyweight champion of the world, the master bomber, Jack Dempsey. And in this corner, wearing black trunks, from Roxbury, Mass, weighing at even 200 pounds, former heavyweight champion, the Boston Strong Boy, John L Sullivan.
Now, referee Ruby Goldstein is calling the fighters to mid-ring for their instructions. We'll be back in just a minute with round one. Dempsey, lean and fit, scowling in his corner, listening to Doc Kearns, while Billy Madden shouts up toward the great John L Sullivan, standing calmly. Here's the bell, and here's Guy.
Thank you, Murray Warner. Good evening again, ladies and gentlemen. The computer NCR 315 now begins its attempt to narrow the gap between the universal best heavyweight of all time and those who nearly were. At the center of the ring, both men touch gloves, and as they break, I don't mind telling you that your announcer is as dramatically stirred as the most unsophisticated sports fan here. These men, after all, are Jack Dempsey and John L Sullivan. That's all, brother. Dempsey on his horse immediately, ripping a hard left and right for the head. Sullivan registers unquestionable surprise at the sudden hailstorm. His big hands protect his face only briefly, though. He also came to fight. Dempsey pounds left and right hook to the head. Another left and right to the head, this time caught on the hands of Sullivan, who lowers the big head slightly and, throwing his first blow, sends a hard right to the body, which has caved some and in the past, I imagine. But Dempsey just keeps coming. He pushes several steps forward, and Sullivan is pushed ahead of him. Dempsey now tattoos the body with fiery lefts and rights under the heart. Not hard, but in great profusion. Sullivan has only thrown one retaliatory blow. He has an immediate need for a clinch. He has been caught cold, ice cold, by the most savage heavyweight of all time. Here's the clinch. The referee is Ruby Goldstein, a fine boxer in his own day. And I might add, the crowd here arrived in a state of hysterical anxiety, and nothing has happened to change its responses, and I doubt that anything will. The unquestioned strength of Jack Dempsey brings a welcome respite at the neutral corner to John L Sullivan. Except when he himself is need for a clinch, Dempsey's always a most unwilling party to this. But in close now, Dempsey rips at Sullivan's midsection with a free left hand. Sullivan is mad enough to break off the other. Ruby Goldstein at the clinch again, I think is in as much danger as anybody else. Back out now at the center of the ring, the crowd still in an uproarious state. Sullivan loops a terrific left to the head, is covered immediately by a short left and right hook to the mouth. Again, Sullivan belts the body with the right hand. His face, though, receives two light lefts thrown by Dempsey. Again, there is a clinch. No fireworks follow. But now, as they move out and back in to short-range pummeling, Jack Dempsey keeps shooting at the ribs. Sullivan seems to hold his head proudly above the clinching bodies as I look across the ring. We just thought you might be interested in this observance. Goldstein at the scene of wrestling again. In case you have just joined us, Jack Dempsey and John L Sullivan in the first round of this computerized elimination heavyweight series. Now back out at the center of the ring, the men circling. Sullivan fires a right to the body of Dempsey. It's under the heart. Dempsey immediately engages in a hard exchange to the midsection. Here's Dempsey hooking left and right to the body, and there again, an immediate clinch. Dempsey has a reach of 77 inches. John L. a reach of 74. There's the bell.
Dempsey landed at a 3-1 rate over Sullivan, and the Boston Strong boy didn't seem hurt. The Manasseh Mauler landed some toughies. There's the bell, and here's Guy.
Thank you, Murray. John L. Sullivan and Jack Dempsey. Dempsey rarely repairs to the use of the left jab this early in the fight, but here he is, throwing a couple of light ones at John L. Sullivan's head, and the big man captures the arms of Dempsey. We're in a clinch. Sullivan for this fight is at his age peak, 24 years of age. Dempsey at his peak is equally 24. Dempsey's flair for fighting goes back to the roseate era of John L., but his superb speed and versatile attack are as modern as jet flight. Dempsey immediately out of the clinch at his favorite task again. With little self-protection, fires a gorgeous left to the chin. Sullivan ready and returns his own hard right to the mouth. Dempsey right back with a left to the chin, but takes a retaliatory hard left at the body. They meet at close quarters across the ring. Dempsey clearly has the greater skill at this, at least. Curled against the large chest of John L. Sullivan, his hands beat hard at either side of the midsection of John L. Sullivan's ability to take it with little or no wincing right now puts me in awe of his incredible strength, that strength which we've all heard so much about. Dempsey has apparently tired himself out, and Sullivan, firing a short right but hard to the body of Dempsey, is able now to quiet him and the clinch once again. The referee, Ruby Goldstein, he comes onto the scene to move them out to the center of the ring. Now Sullivan takes his classic stance. There is his left extended like the barrel of a rifle, elbows slightly crooked, the wrist in a question mark, to which the right, cocked and ready, inevitably has the answer. Back out to the center of the ring again, Dempsey dancing back and forth, lashes a strong left hook to the jaw. Sullivan returns his own left hook to the head. It is not a counterpunch. The blow is nearly reflex as he throws it. Dempsey fires a straight right to the mouth, a hard left smashing into the head. He crowds Sullivan against the ropes. Sullivan drives a strong left to the eye, a right to the nose by John L. Dempsey rips left to the chin, another left to the chin by the Manasseh Mauler. Sullivan misses a left and right over the head and takes a hard smash at the body, thrown at full throttle from the left hand of savage Jack Dempsey. Dempsey has cornered Sullivan against the ropes, who flails with both hands at the head, some landing, but Dempsey, head charging like a bull, delivers left and right to the body, left and right to the body. Sullivan wraps a large hand around Dempsey's neck, smashes the chin with two chops, but Jack Dempsey doesn't want to talk or rest or certainly clinch. He wants this moment for history. Apparently, Dempsey sees a kill this early. He probably is a bit premature in judgment, and there is the clinch with Dempsey an unwilling member. Ruby Goldstein breaks up the clinch, and Dempsey goes back to work immediately. Dempsey sends a flurry of rights and lefts to the body. Again, he moves in swiftly with Sullivan on the ropes at the bell.
Dempsey still landing at a 3-1 rate. Seems to have John L. confused. Dempsey, long and lean, a fighting machine, has raised several lumps on John L.'s face. There's the bell, and here's Guy.
Okay, Murray, this is the computerized quarter-round match between Jack Dempsey and John L. Sullivan, and Dempsey, the Manasseh Mauler, leaps from his corner, immediately attacks John L. with a hard left to the chin. Sullivan takes cover, and here in this third round, for the first time, we would have reason to say that Sullivan reveals defensive acumen not evident in his fight with James Corbett. Dempsey finds the restricted target and continues, though. He tries another left to the chin. Sullivan sends a retaliatory looping left hand to the body. Dempsey avoids it, slips inside, drives left and right to the body. Sullivan does not retreat. His reaction is immediately offensive. There's his hard right to the head. It strikes Dempsey only a glancing blow. Sullivan returns to the right-hand thrust attack. Dempsey's under the punch, and Jack tries an uppercut with the left hand to the chin, but it jams into the chest of John L. Sullivan, and the fighters fall into a clinch. The computer records that John L. Sullivan can be hit most easily by anything, and that he is wide open. His knack for brawling has been modified by meeting a man tonight whose reputation for brawling has always been compared to his own. Here is a great opportunity to make the comparison. Action again, and Sullivan, stepping to his right, fires a left to the body of Dempsey. It strikes him only in glancing fashion. Dempsey was away in a whoosh. Dempsey moving like a nervous mosquito. Here is a hard smash to the head by Dempsey, and Dempsey then levels a hard left and right at the body. Another left and right at the body by Dempsey, and Sullivan sends a hard straight right to the head as Dempsey left himself completely open while he was operating the body. Dempsey is definitely jarred. The immediate effect, however, is to energize other muscles, and again he moves into close quarters, where he has found unquestioned superiority. And with power and accuracy, here's Dempsey, with swift hands smashing left and right to the body. Dempsey again with left and right to the heart, left to the midsection, left to the ribs, to the heart, to the ribs, more often than I can count or recount. John L. Sullivan simply at bay, backed up against the ropes, his two hands actually clutching the face of Dempsey, and the ferocious hailstorm at the body continues unabated. Sullivan already in this round has taken more punishment than you and I think, have ever seen, and certainly in the last 20 fights combined, if we're talking to fight fans. The conditioning for fighting is here exemplified at its very peak. Ruby Goldstein is off to the scene immediately as Dempsey, tiring, is finally brought to an unwilling halt by Sullivan's big, grasping, bear-like hands, and now the clinch is complete. Sullivan fought great men, true, but not war gods with mercurial speed and agility as this 20th century Jack Dempsey. Out of the clinch, Dempsey, and there's the bell.
Though Dempsey was jarred in round 3, he is clearly dominating this fight, and in every round so far has registered well to the head and body. There's the bell, and here's Guy.
We're in Miami Convention Hall for this computerized elimination bout between John L. Sullivan and Jack Dempsey. Sullivan has taken a severe lashing in round 3. We'll have to watch carefully for the long-range effect. Dempsey to the task at hand, rushes from the corner again. His attack is to the body again. Here's Dempsey firing a right to the body, a left to the midsection. He dances to his right. Sullivan answers the challenge with a hard right to the head. Dempsey was trying to avoid that counter. Sullivan trying to follow. Now finds Dempsey rushing back to his body and pushing light shots at the ribs. Sullivan rams a hard right to the body. Dempsey pushing forward with hunched left shoulder against John L. Sullivan, keeps pasting the ribs with the right hand, and Sullivan goes to the clinch in John L.'s own corner. Dempsey is in this elimination round on the basis of his victory over James Corbett, who you recall pulverized John L. and took his title, although Sullivan was a deteriorated battler at the time. As they break, Sullivan lands a looping right to the head and tries to tie Dempsey up, but Jack, although tackled around the neck, crashes left and right to the body, and Sullivan has to let go of his neck for the moment at least. Now Big John L. advances on Jack with those big club-like hands out in front, his legs carrying him fairly nimbly towards Jack, who now apparently is drawing him to battle. Sullivan lashes at the body. Dempsey levels a good left to the nose and right at short range to the head. And Sullivan again has his chance to clinch. He wants it apparently and gets it. John L. decision, James Braddock, the Cinderella man, to get this fight with Dempsey here tonight. And the surprise was that Braddock was not KO'd. But Jim's boxing ability did undercut Sullivan's power. Now at the center of the ring, this time Dempsey approaching more slowly, hooks a good left to the head. He is looking for an opening for the right, but Sullivan sends a glancing blow to the forehead. Here's Dempsey throwing a light right and left at the body. He misses a hard right at the head and has to retreat a bit off balance. Sullivan moving forward, moving his ominous right, which has finished so many men around in small circles near his own chin. Sullivan hooks a left to the chin of Dempsey. Dempsey rams a hard right counter to the body. It's a solid shot. Dempsey has opportunity for more. Here he is swarming at Sullivan, who is looping a left at the head in retaliation. Dempsey rams right and left to the head, ducks under a blow, rips the chin with solid rights. Here is a smash at the left of the head by Dempsey. He has Sullivan in range. Sullivan retreats a couple of steps. Dempsey pounds the head with left and right. A right to the chin by Dempsey, and Sullivan has gone down. Sullivan has gone down in a heap. If the count is 3, 4, 5, he's up. He'll be up at 8. He is taking the mandatory count. Sullivan's all right. There's the bell.
Sullivan was back on his feet and ready for the battle when the bell sounded. He looks recovered now, and the Manasseh Mauler, under Doc Kern's urging, appears anxious for the kill. There's the bell, and here's Guy.
Right you are, Murray. John L. certainly does look all right. He's only been knocked down twice before entering this series, while he has floored his opponents 149 times. In fact, it's John L. to begin the attack. Here's a light left and right to the head. Dempsey goes to the clinch immediately. Apparently in close, he wants to feel something of what's left of Sullivan's strength for his own knowledge. Will one of the fighters tonight before us, the immortal John L. Sullivan or Jack Dempsey, be the eventual all-time heavyweight champion? Dempsey off the break, shoots a left to the head. Sullivan retreats to the safety of a couple of feet. Dempsey does not follow. Sullivan moves back from Dempsey. The tempo is definitely slowed for the first time in this computerized match. Dempsey swings in a bit more quickly now, lands a good shot for the head. Sullivan grabs him and roughs him up, but nobody is clean punching in there, and Goldstein's help is immediately summoned. Jack Dempsey, before this tournament, was knocked down 16 times in his career and knocked his opponents down 97 times. At the center of the ring again, Sullivan lashes a looping left to Jack's head. Jack shakes the headpiece and brings up hard left and right to the heart of Sullivan, who ties him up and roughs him again at the head. Sullivan obviously going to use this as a coast round, and Dempsey against Corbett also slowed for the 5th round, so Dempsey too may be a party to slower action here. Dempsey on the break sends a light left to the head, dances around Sullivan. Sullivan cocks his fist and is pivoting and turning with Dempsey. John L's only recent adaptation to footwork on the move is still at the mystery stage. Dempsey in and out with a soft hook to the head. Sullivan answers with a light right to the head and is a little awkward on that shot. Dempsey hurries away from the blow, now returns to range. Here is Jack Dempsey with a light left to the face, a good solid shot to the body. Sullivan tries a light right to the head, and Dempsey has open season at the body again. Here's Dempsey attacking with blows to the body from the left and right side. Here is a punishing left to the body, a right to the heart by Jack Dempsey. Sullivan misses 2 rights over the head as Dempsey slips to the right, and Dempsey now has John L on the ropes. Here is a hard left and right to the mouth by Dempsey. Sullivan still hitting, but lands lightly on the head. And again, Dempsey is at the body. Sullivan takes a solid right to the side. A ripping shot to the chest from Dempsey. Dempsey with those short dynamite sticks is still firing away at Sullivan. And Sullivan appears hurt with seconds left to go, about 20 left to go. There is a hard right under the heart by the Manasseh Mauler, who is so aptly named. Dempsey takes a light right to the mouth. He's trying to move in for the kill, as Sullivan tries to get him in a wrestling hold, but Dempsey is an unwilling member. Here's Dempsey with left and right to the body. Dempsey again tearing away at the chest, tearing away at the ribs, and there's the bell.
Dempsey had Sullivan badly hurt again in the last round. Only the Boston Strong Boy's incredible stamina kept him from going down again. And here's Guy.
Okay, Murray, we might point out that the winner of this tournament will receive a $10,000 gold and diamond belt. It was a relatively mild round for Jack Dempsey, but John L Sullivan probably wouldn't agree with that statement. His body once more took a brutal blasting. At the center of the ring, Sullivan again, as in round 2, tries to take charge. His pride apparently deeply affected. Sullivan levels a hard blast at the head of Dempsey. Dempsey was not expecting it. He was beaten to the punch. It's rare enough, but more than that, the blow appears to be a telling one. And Dempsey has gone reeling back. Sullivan tries to set Dempsey up with a lethal right hand of his. Dempsey against the ropes is, however, at guard position. This crowd is stunned. John L Sullivan, with a single shot, has brought this fight again back to a 2-man affair. Sullivan blasts a left to the mouth, another left to the mouth of Dempsey. Dempsey finally squeezes off the ropes, tries a left hook to the head, misses. I can see his eyes are blurry. Sullivan rambling forward again, the right hand is cocked. Dempsey retreating. Sullivan lunges at him with a straight right to the body, but Dempsey is trying to tie him up. Dempsey cannot take additional head punishment at this time. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Sullivan's head blast right at the beginning must have had enormous effect. They are in a clinch. Referee Ruby Goldstein has a job in prying them apart. Dempsey cannily using the time to shake his head free. His eyes are clearing, the clinch is above me, and now they're separated out to the center of the ring. John L has been downed in this fight, in case you just joined us. Dempsey has been the aggressor and the leader throughout, but the truth has now been clear. Sullivan can equalize things with a single shot. Dempsey now on the move. He tries a right to the head, a glancing blow coming in immediately after that, and now brings up an uppercut to Sullivan's ducking chin. Dempsey whips the same target again. Sullivan ties him up. Incidentally, here in Miami, the rule was innovated, giving a man 20 seconds to come back to the ring if he falls out of it. Remember, Dempsey was knocked out of the ring by Louis Firpo. Back out at the center, Sullivan hooks a hard left to the head. Dempsey counters with a straight right to the chin. He's coming back. Sullivan hooks a solid left to the body, and Dempsey, apparently fully recovered, sends a straight right to the head and is going into a late round rally on signal from his corner, perhaps. Dempsey blasts the body with left and right. Dempsey's head. Now bungling forward in a charge. Dempsey punishes the body. A stinging left onto the heart. A drive right to the solar plexus. A murderous shot by Dempsey. Sullivan trying to grab for Dempsey's head for the clinch. Dempsey moving sharply to the right. And there's the bell.
Dempsey came slamming back from that looping left hand that stunned him at the beginning of round 6 to have Sullivan hanging on from body shots at the bell. There's the bell, and here's Guy.
Okay, Maurice, Sullivan had the best and worst of both possible worlds in the previous round. He hurt Dempsey, but then got blasted in turn. Out at the center of the ring, the action is cautious. Both men were hurt, as I've mentioned. Sullivan misses the first blow thrown at the head, but lands a good solid left to the head of Dempsey. Dempsey dances to the right away from the impact of it. Dempsey dancing up and down, Sullivan rambling slowly. The left hand held at sword length. It was the left that punished Dempsey considerably in the previous round. Dempsey now sends his own straight right to the body. It's a good shot, but Sullivan's body is switched off to the right, and the blow is a grazing one. Sullivan, in retaliation, lands a good right to the body of Dempsey. Dempsey recovers. There is no further exchange. Now they spar around near the center of the ring. Dempsey tries to fake Sullivan's left hand, and with a streak, snaps the left side with a hook. Sullivan retaliates with his own left hook to the body, and Dempsey is now moving shoulder to shoulder with Sullivan. Something's going to happen. Dempsey breaks off. Dempsey hammers a brutal left to the head, another left to the head and right as Sullivan was trying to get set. Dempsey caught him beautifully. Here's Dempsey with a 1-2 combination in savage power. Here's Dempsey with a left to the head, a right to the jaw. Sullivan is down. Sullivan is down. Here's the count. 3, 4, 5. On one knee, he is recovering. He is naked and is up at the count of 9. Sullivan was down from a rain of blows. The right to the jaw was the last one. And now his gloves are being wiped off in the center of the ring. Everybody in this huge convention hall on his or her feet, and everybody roaring, I'm sure of that. And now they're signaled again to get going. Sullivan on his feet again, and now wants to gamely mix with Dempsey. Sullivan has decided to fight it out. He drives a strong right to the head, but Dempsey is on him at once. Dempsey is intent on destroying the John L nip right here and now. Here's Dempsey with a hard left and right. Sullivan's head is merely weaving from side to side. He is not punching back anymore. Dempsey simply punching his head off. A left to the chin, a right to the jaw of Sullivan, another right to the head of Sullivan, and Sullivan has gone down again. Sullivan is down again. It is 3, 4, 5, not moving, 7, 8, I think it's over, 10, he is down and out. Dempsey the winner, a sensational knockout in the 7th round. Murray Warner, there is a reversal of fortune and form, so typical of some of Dempsey's great battles once again. Okay, Murray.
Oh, what a finish, Guy. The indomitable spirit and strength of John L Sullivan just took all it could. A lesser man than the great John L could not have survived even this long the battering administered by the great two-handed slugging of Jack Dempsey. Now as Joe Goss and Billy Madden help John L to his corner, helped by Jack Dempsey, by the way, Paul Berman is in the ring for the official announcement.
The official result, a knockout by the Manasseh Mullet. And now Dempsey will move into the semifinals of this tournament, and on December 4th will meet the winner of next week's match between Joe Louis and Ruby Bob Fitzsimmons. We'll be back in just 1 minute.
Guy, there may be more exciting fights, and I guess there may be more exciting fighters than Jack Dempsey. But where in the world would you find him? He just doesn't let up for a second. He never gave John L the chance to really get set in the fight. And those few jarring shots he took seemed to turn him on rather than slow him down.
Well, that's about the size of it, Maury. John L Sullivan, I think, must have had repeat moments when he wondered where all the leather was coming from. I believe Dempsey hit him everywhere but kneecaps and ankles.
One thing's sure, those red splotches on Sullivan's body aren't makeup. I believe I actually saw Dempsey's glove go clean out of sight on some of those body belts.
You better believe it. Dempsey's attack was merciless, and only Sullivan's tremendous strength kept him in there till the 7th round. Sullivan, with his slow-moving style, was a setup for Dempsey, He buzzed around him like a fighter playing around a bomber, belting him from every angle. And you'd better believe that where Jack hits, he hurts.
That was clearly visible as we saw Sullivan wince on more than one occasion when those hooks slammed into his middle.
In any event, a 7th-round KO with a Manasseh Mauler, Jack Dempsey. Moving now into our semifinals, eliminating John L Sullivan from this computerized tournament.
You know, Guy, I think we had virtually a unanimous vote for Dempsey tonight on our pre-fight show. But maybe it'll be interesting to look back over some of those predictions.
No, right you are. Hank Kaplan of the World Boxing Historian said
Dempsey would have knocked Sullivan out. I believe the fight would have gone about 7 or 8 rounds.
And Jack Kearns, whose father managed Dempsey, is just as positive.
I don't think it would be any contest. I think Jack Dempsey would walk out, step up, and swarm all over him. Well, I think Dempsey would beat him within 5 rounds.
And they were both close, with Hank hitting the round.
Both these guys were tough fighters, and you have to wonder if the fighters in modern times are just as tough. You asked Jack Kearns about how his father taught Jack Dempsey to use that left hand, which eventually he developed into a murderous punch.
When he found Dempsey, Dempsey was strictly a right-hand puncher. Just strictly punch crazy with the right hand. Took a great punch. Took a better punch than anybody in the history of boxing. And a real animal. That's all he knew was he would kill you if he had a chance in the ring with his hands. And it wasn't over with until the man was down, it was counted out. And he was trying all the time to finish. No boxing, no parrying, no nothing. Just punch and take you out. He tied Jack's right hand to his body. And he got Marty Farrell, one of the greatest boxing teachers of all, to teach him to bob and weave and hook with that left hand. And then he used to take fellows, big, tough, gymnasium sparring partners, the type of fellows who made a living out of boxing in the gym. Very, very good gymnasium fighters. And he used to tie Dempsey's right hand up and leave him only with that left hand in there. And these fellows would have both hands and headgear. And they'd go to town, and they'd have some wars. And pretty soon, slowly but surely, Jack developed a left hook that nobody around boxing in the heavyweight ranks has ever come close to. I believe they said he could punch 137 miles an hour with a left hook, was what it was clocked at one time.
Well, Murray, the winner of next week's match goes against Jack Dempsey in the all-time heavyweight tournament semifinals. The winner of next week's match is going to be really some fighter. Next week, Joe Louis, the Brown Bomber, and a big pre-tourney favorite in this boxing elimination against another old-timer of the Sullivan mold, Ruby Bob Fitzsimmons.
In the first round of the all-time heavyweight tournament, Lewis pounded out an impressive 15th round win over Jess Willard, knocking Willard out in the 15th after winning 13 of the first 14 rounds. Now, a fight like that has to make Lewis a tough man to deal with, Guy.
Yes, sir, and don't forget next week's other fighter, Bob Fitzsimmons, pulled something of an upset over heavyweight champion from a modern era, Jack Sharkey. Ruby Bob decisioned Sharkey after being knocked down twice in the first 5. He's tough, let there be no doubt about that.
Ruby Bob was tough all his life, Guy. He beat another Jack Dempsey, the nonpareil, in 13 rounds to win his first championship in the United States, the middleweight championship, in 1891. From there, the young man with the marvelous build, the heavyweight's body on the legs of a smaller man, went on to win the heavyweight championship from Jim Corbett with a 14th round knockout on a blow to the stomach, the so-called solar plexus punch. 2 years later, he lost the title on an 11-round knockout to Jim Jeffries. In 1903, he won his third title, the light heavyweight championship, in 20 rounds over George Gardner on a decision. Quite a man, Guy.
Quite a man is right, Murray, and we'll examine him closely right after this message. Well, Bob Fitzsimmons doesn't have much of a defense against a man of Lewis' stature, but he is a tough counterpuncher, really tough, especially with the left hook off Lewis's right hand. He won 23 out of his 41 fights by knockouts, specializing in that left hook, also using a good right cross effectively. And at 172 pounds, he'll be giving away 28 pounds to Lewis. That's a lot of weight. A lot of weight against a man of the Bomber's strength. Fitzsimmons, 34 years old. He's another of those fighters, like Jersey Joe Walcott and a few others, who matured rather late in life.
In this second quarterfinal fight, with the winner meeting tonight's winner, Jack Dempsey, Lewis would have to be regarded as a solid favorite, Guy. Just 23 years old at the peak of his career, weighing an even 200 pounds. Lewis is 6 feet 1.5 inches tall, And he's really a bomber with 68 knockdowns in his 71 fights. Joe's a good defensive fighter, too. A superior counterpuncher. If Fitzsimmons wins this one, it'll be quite an upset.
Yeah, but don't forget, Murray, that Fitzsimmons did outlast Jack Sharkey in the opening fight.
Well, let's listen to one round of that tremendous fight right now, Guy.
A hard left hand. Fitzsimmons retaliates with a blast of the body from the right leg. Fitzsimmons lands again at the midsection, and Sharkey immediately has to go to the helping hands of a clinch. Ruby Goldstein coming out. We're in the home stretch. Now Fitzsimmons and Jack Sharkey. And are you scoring? Did Fitzsimmons win enough rounds to overcome the knockdown by Sharkey? Or knockdowns and also the bleeding cuts? And have you recalled the amount of rounds Sharkey was out punched 2-1 and staggered? Here on the break, Fitzsimmons drives left and right to the body, weaves to his left, thunders that body again from the right side as Sharkey tiredly misses a left jab, but hooks lightly to the head. Here is a clinch once again, and Ruby Goldstein doesn't have to do too much to break them apart. The break is fast and voluntarily. Fitzsimmons punching faster, hooks the jaw of Jack Sharkey, springs up and down, bobs up and down. He is a strange-looking man. The sailor man wraps a right to the body, and his left to the chin is blocked, and he takes a wicked right to the ear, and back again to the attack comes Fitzsimmons with that pile-driving shot to the body. Sharkey hooks the head, drives his own straight right at the heart, and Fitz parries a good left at the body, hooks the head again. They're punching beautifully as the crowd begins to sense the closing seconds of the match, and they're rooting for them to make the end. Standing up, the crowd is beginning to stand. Sharkey is in close, taking a hard right to the body, a hard left hook to the head. He is leaning against Fitzsimmons, who drives again to the midsection. There's a fine finish coming up, and particularly for the great ex-champion, the blacksmith Bob Fitzsimmons. And there's the bell.
Well, it sure was a tremendous finish, and that's what Joe Louis has to contend with next week. And it should be a great fight. Now, of course, Louis is boxed with the good ones, because after losing to Schmeling in 1936, Joe beat former title holder Jack Sharkey by a knockout. Then went on to whip Cinderella man Jimmy Braddock on an 8-round KO and win the crown. He retired in 1949 after being champion an amazing 12 years. Then, of course, you remember he made a comeback try to regain the title against Ezzard Charles. Louis won 7 times in 51 before being knocked out by another of our all-time heavyweight tournament fighters, Rocky Marciano.
We'll be back in just a minute to talk about Joe Louis and listen to a little bit of the Willard Lewis fight. That classic straight right to the head was Joe's best punch. But he could cut anybody up with that left jab, and that's surely what he'll be using a lot next week against Fitzsimmons. Joe was hit often by a right hand to the head, and Ruby Bob has that punch. Lewis won 54 of his 71 fights by knockouts, and that's a remarkable record. He lost only twice on knockouts to 2 outstanding fighters, Schmeling and Marciano.
Okay, now let's listen to the last round of Joe's first all-time heavyweight tournament fight. That's the one in which the Brown Bomber KO'd Big Jess Willard.
Jabs on the mouth, pesky, stinging, painful knives they are, and Joe rakes Willard's head with left and right, and left and right, and Jess Willard is dead game as we are approaching the closing moments of this round and this fight. Here is Willard throwing feebly at the body, and Lewis looking for the opening, stabbing the left, cocking the right, moving forward a little bit, feinting at the right, and Lewis looks again for the opening, and now Lewis does find the opening. Here he is with a tremendous left to the body, a right under the heart by Lewis. This is a rally. 2 lefts to the face by Joe. Willard's eyes are glassy. Joe setting him up. The body blows up, empties Willard's fuel tank. Joe hooks a hard left to the face of Willard, and Willard now blindly flicks out. Lewis bombs the midsection. Left, right, and left, and there goes Willard sinking to the ground and down. Let's take up the count. It is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's it. That's it. Joe Louis takes 15 rounds, but KO'd Big Jess Willard.
That was another great finish, Guy. Next week in this ring, it's Joe Louis versus Ruby Bob Fitzsimmons in a fight scheduled for 15 rounds. And just to review our tournament briefly, the following week, Max Baer meets Rocky Marciano. And the week after that, we'll have our final quarterfinal fight, Cassius Clay and Jim Jeffries.
You know, I don't think we'll have any trouble getting opinions on next week's fight. Joe Louis may have been the most popular heavyweight champion of all time. And he's one of the best-known American athletes in history.
Even Angelo Dundee, the boxing manager and trainer, got excited when we asked him to sum up Joe Louis for us.
It'd take 1,000 words to describe Joe Louis. Joe Louis was the forerunner of good fighters. Joe Louis was the advent of a left jab. Joe Louis was the guy that thrilled the people when he hit you with one punch, 7 followed. He was a combination fighter. He was just tremendous to look at, tremendous to even listen to. Because when I was a kid, I used to listen to him on the radio. And all I can tell you, when he got knocked out by Schmeling, I cried.
And then we asked him about Bob Fitzsimmons.
He was a tremendous good banger for such a small man. And I've heard these stories, naturally, that he was big on top, small on the bottom. But anybody that size, it's hard for me to visualize him beating a good big man.
Here's what Rocky Marciano had to say about Joe Louis.
Well, Joe Louis, of course, was the greatest fighter I have ever seen in my lifetime. I was lucky enough to fight him at a time when Joe was on his way down. I was able to beat him and, of course, get a chance at the title by beating Joe Louis. But I guess in Joe Louis's prime, he was about as great as anybody could ever be.
And Rocky's opinions about Ruby Bob.
They all say that this man who weighed under 170 pounds could punch with the best of them. He could fight. He had been around a long time. And, of course, he's the man that discovered the solar plexus blow, which is terrific. From that time to today, a body puncher is regarded as a good fighter.
In a moment, we'll hear what Nat Fleischer thinks about next week's fight.
Mr. Nat Fleischer of Brain Magazine. He rates Ruby Bob Fitzsimmons as one of the best, one of the very best.
Bob had a powerful body punch, and when he landed the solar plexus, such as he did in the body of Mr. Jim Corbett, the opponent would indefinitely double up in pain and be stopped or knocked into a state of inefficiency for the rest of the contest.
Strangely, Fleischer sees Joe Louis's style as flawed.
Joe Louis was a marvelous all-around good fighter. He, unfortunately, was what we call a shuffler type, a man who did not possess the type of ring cleverness that enabled him to stand on his toes. But in order to obtain his objective, it was necessary for him to shuffle in, keep going in by degrees to catch his man. But once he cornered him, the man had very little opportunity to get out of his reach, and a knockout usually was the result.
Although several of the all-time heavyweight tournament fights have gone the distance because of the tremendous strength, endurance, and desire of all these fighters, there's hardly any question that every man left in this tournament has a superb knockout punch. We asked Joe Walcott about Louis and the finishing punch.
Well, Louis is the greatest finisher that once he got a fighter hurt. I think that it would be difficult for any fighter to survive once Louis got him in a position where he could deliver his finishing punches.
Chris Dundee, the Miami Beach fight promoter, is another of the ringsiders here tonight, whom we asked about Louis.
A great puncher. Joe Louis was good to look at. Joe Louis he was a manufactured fighter, by the way. Joe Louis was lucky to have a man by the name of Jack Blackburn train him, and Blackburn taught him a lot of the tricks of the game and then all the fundamentals of boxing. Joe Louis was not a smart fighter. That was his trouble. He was a slow-thinking fighter. But for that he made up in his punching power. He had probably one of the greatest left jabs that anybody would ever have. He could hurt you with a left jab. He could bust your face open with a left jab.
Max Schmeling, who got a lot closer to Joe than most of the experts, unfortunately, had other ideas about Joe's cleverness.
Joe Louis, he was a man, he was a very good boxer. He did know all about boxing, and he was a very hard hitter. And he had a very quick reaction, Joe Louis, and if he saw just a little hole, then he was right in.
Jim Braddock, another fighter who saw Louis at close range, doesn't quibble about Louis's ability either.
And although Joe was slow of foot, he was the fastest puncher that I
ever had the pleasure of watching, and I had a close watch with him, too.
Tell me about that.
Well, I had Joe on the floor, in the first round, and
with a right hand, I believe.
With a right hand, yes, a right hand uppercut. And I said to myself, the quicker I get out of here, the better it's going to be for me. He had 9 years on me. So the fight went on. I missed him with the second punch. I missed his chin by about an inch, and I hit him on the chest. And from there on, I tried to either hit him with a good left hook or a right hand. I got up to be around the fourth round, and I started to tire a little. And then Joe started to come on. So he belted me for the next 4 rounds, and finally in the 8th round, he set me up with a left hook to the stomach and a right cross, which I seen coming, but I couldn't move. I think they could have counted 844 over me altogether.
Was there anything particular in Joe Lewis's punching that you remember?
He was a great fast puncher because he just fed you with a punch and hit you with 10 in a fraction of a second. Greatest puncher. I wouldn't say he could punch as hard as Max Baer, but he was a really good puncher. He landed often, and he was a real machine gun puncher.
We'll be back with tonight's wrap-up in just a minute. Well, that's about it for tonight from Miami Convention Hall, where tonight Jack Dempsey KO'd John L Sullivan in 7 rounds in the quarterfinal round of the all-time heavyweight championship tournament. Next week, another tremendous match. Quick, tough Ruby Bob Fitzsimmons against one of the great favorites of all time, Joe Louis, the Brown Bomber. Same time, same station, 15 rounds or less, for the right to meet Jack Dempsey in the semifinals. Until then, this is Murray Warner
and Guy LeBeau. Thanks for listening. We'll expect you next week.